Hi, everyone, and welcome in to GC Live here on Gamecock Central. Kendall Smith and Jack Veltri coming at you on this lovely Wednesday afternoon, this wonderful Wednesday afternoon. We hope that you've had a great week so far. We are excited to be here with you because it is one day closer to the best time of the year, and that is South Carolina football season. Well, it's the best time of the year, Jack, when they are playing well, and that is certainly the hope for this season. We are in the midst still of talking season, preseason. So the excitement is there. The anticipation is there. This is one of my favorite times of the year to talk because you're getting closer and closer to the season. Everybody is ready. It seems like there's generally positivity across most people you'll talk to with this team. So excited to be here with you and hope you're doing well. What's up, Jack?
I'm doing well, Kendall. Doing well. We're making it through another week here. And I know you had a great birthday going to Chicago. And we were talking about it before. This girl went to two of the best games that, better than most people will ever see in their entire lives. It's crazy.
I was very fortunate to witness baseball history twice this weekend. And this is just as like a fan of the game, right? I'm not even talking about individual teams or whatever it might be. But on Saturday, which was my birthday, I went to the Cubs-Cardinals game, which is a great game to go to anyways, because it's Saturday in Wrigleyville. So much fun. Everyone was amped up. 1:20 start Central Time. And it wasn't great for the Cubs, but Joshua Baez hit 3 home runs in his first 3 at-bats. Now, not only is that impressive, but it is impressive more so because it was his major league debut on Saturday. He's the only player in Major League history to ever do that. And the cherry on top was that he played for the Memphis Redbirds this season. I work in AAA baseball. The Knights play the Memphis Redbirds all the time. So it was cool to be able to see him get called up. That's what I do for a living, is basically tell the stories of guys who get called up to the Major League level. So I know that debut was just unbelievable, and it was really cool to watch. And then on Monday, I went to the Cubs White Sox game. I work for the White Sox affiliate, and of course the Crosstown Classic is just unbelievable on its own, so loved that. Wonderful game. Was a little back and forth, like just great baseball was played. But in the bottom of the 10th inning, well, let me back it up. To start the game, first at bat of the game, Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, goes yard. So he leads off the game with a home run. And then Seiya Suzuki goes back-to-back with him. So that was cool. And then the end of the game, bottom of the 10th inning, PCA walks it off. He's the first player in Cubs history to lead off the game with a home run and walk it off with a home run. And he's only the 6th player in Major League history to do that. So a little bit of like my baseball nerd coming out there, but just cool to be able to watch all that history up in Chicago this weekend.
And did that not cap off because now he's at a 30-30 season?
Yes,
right?
That was his 30-30 mark. So he hit that.
That's insane.
So it's like, I mean, he's got to be the MVP.
How do you top that? I mean, those are got to be 2 of the best games that you've ever been to, right?
Those are by far the best.
In one freaking weekend. That's nuts.
I love it. And Jack and I both love baseball. So I'm just in awe that I got to experience all of that. And of course, getting to watch all the guys in the White Sox is so cool because I know all of them and they've played in Charlotte. So super proud moment there just to be able to watch them. And the season they're having has been unbelievable. Massive shout out to Chris Getz, Will Venable. I think they've been phenomenal. So great weekend. Thank you for asking, Jack.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So we got a busy show today. Before we get into it, let's dive into some ad reads. Kendall, would you like to take the reins on doing this time?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is very exciting. This is my first time being able to do this. And of all the years that I worked at Gamecock Central, we have always been supported by the wonderful Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans. So if you need help with anything in that realm, and I mean anything, Clint is seriously your guy. So Jack just recently got his first house, and I know that it's exciting. Well, he's renting a house, but
renting a townhome. But still, the day will come where I do need a home.
Yes,
I will have to go to Clint.
you'll have to go to Clinton, so will I. But Jack's living in a house, so he sees what it's like. He sees that's the dream, right? Have a house. So if you need all that help, you can hang out with our guy, Clint Hammond. And he's a big Gamecock fan, so he can talk all things South Carolina with you, the upcoming football season, etc. He's been a big supporter of Gamecock Central for so many years. We appreciate him so much. To find out more about what he does, to get his help, to talk to him, visit ClintHammond.com. You can give him a call at 803-422-6797. His NMLS number is 71597. That is our good friend Clint Hammond of CMG Home Loans, who makes GC Live possible week in and week out, Jack.
We had a ton of ad reads to get through today, so that is why Kendall is – I texted her this morning. I'm like, Kendall, we've got like 5 different ad reads to get through today. You're taking 2, I'll take 3, and we'll split it up.
I can't do Clint as well as Jack does.
But you got all the points across. You read off the information, which is above us here on screen all show long. You gave the intel. I mean, you did a great job breaking it all down. That was your first time doing it too?
It was my first time doing Clint, so that is exciting. But Clint has been around for as long as I've been at Gamecock Central. So if that tells you anything about how much he loves the Gamecock community, and we love to work with those that are fellow Gamecocks, like that's always the best. Make sure you work with Clint. But Jack, lots to talk about today. We are in talking season still. So there's some good, there's some bad. Let's just start off with what everyone has been talking about, and that is, unfortunately, already South Carolina dealing with some injuries. And we've known this throughout the offseason. There are a few things that happened, most notably Stewart, Peak, we know. But some news came out recently that unfortunately South Carolina is already dealing with more injuries before the season has already started. So let's start there. What did Shane have to say about the current state of this team injury-wise?
Yeah, so 2 big injuries that were announced over the weekend at receiver. Jaden Gibson and Jaden Sellers are both going to be out for the season due to lower body injuries. We don't know much more beyond that, other than the fact they were both non-contact injuries, as Shane Beamer put it in the last few days. So those guys are out for the year. It's definitely a big blow, especially when you look at Sellers, who was one of Lenore's go-to targets towards the end of last season. And you're going to have to replace a guy that was probably going to be your potential starter out there in the slot. We'll get into more of like what that looks like potentially here in just a second, but definitely a tough blow for sure. And that's where things stand from an injury standpoint. With Peak and Stewart, it's the same old stuff. They're on track. What does on track mean? We don't know. That I see a lot of people online saying that, the media should be asking that question, but it's like, what does he get? What is Shane going to give us from that? He's not going to set a timeline on when these guys are coming back, when it may not even be the case. So we'll see.
That's the worst thing he could do because, first of all, like, he's never going to give specific details. I don't think I've really ever seen a coach ever in the history of college.
It's not how it works.
Yeah, give those details. I don't even know 100% what the rules are with that. Like, I don't even know if he can disclose some of the stuff that is going on, because obviously you have a whole other side of things with HIPAA and whatever. But even for what he can say, he would be silly to put a date on it, because God forbid they don't make it back by that day, and then all hell breaks loose. Sorry, for lack of a better term.
But still, it's the truth.
You just can't have that.
So the good news is there's been no setbacks, which is good, right? They've had their checkups. They're meeting with doctors. They're at practice, but they're not doing anything. And I say not doing anything, they're not literally not doing anything. It's more like they're not partaking in practice itself. They're not in pads. We were out there on Sunday. Peak was in his jersey and practice jersey and shorts, and had his shoes off, just bare feet at practice, and he was doing some med ball work with one of the trainers. So he was out there doing that, and Stewart was kind of just in his practice attire, jersey, shorts, tennis shoes, kind of standing off with the edge rushers. So we'll see when those guys get back. You got a month literally from today is your SEC home opener against Mississippi State. I've talked about it before. I think everyone kind of realizes this. You do not need those two guys for the first 2 games of the year. You don't need them for Kent State or Towson. Put your 4th, 5th string edge rushers out there. You should be able to win those games. No problem. It's Mississippi State and beyond. You'd like to have those guys out there. So you got a month from now exactly until that game. And just to kind of answer this question, we've talked about this before, Kendall, but the question here from Adam, can Gibson and Sellers redshirt? Well, there is no redshirting really anymore because the NCAA's 5-for-5 rule. So you've got 5 years to play 5 seasons of college football. And again, there may be some gray area with that, but it feels pretty straightforward to me. Like, I don't know. I mean, with Gibson, it's a little more interesting because he's missed the last 2 years. This will be a 3rd straight season he's missed. He hasn't played since 2023. And I'm just going to look it up real quick, what his first season of college football is. So he's been in college football since 2022. So, and he's listed as a redshirt senior. So I guess when he comes back, he'd probably have 1 more year of eligibility left to play. I don't know exactly on that. It's a little murky on that end. But with Sellers, he's still going to have 3 years to play after this. So it kind of acts like a red shirt because Sellers didn't take a red shirt last year. He played in more than 4 games, didn't red shirt. He was going to be in that case again this year. So he would have 3 years of eligibility remaining when he comes back next season to play 3 years like he would have this year. So it kind of acts as a red shirt, but not really. Like, they're not going to be using the term red shirt for him next year.
Yeah, it's too bad because, when you get these type of injuries, especially before the season even starts, and then non-contact injuries too, and we're not going to speculate too much on exactly what that means. It could have just been an array of different things that happened that led to these injuries. But season ending is really sad for both of these guys. And Lenoris was asked about it because obviously it's his brother, Jaden Sellers. And so, with Sellers, so many people, Jaden Sellers, that is, so many people were excited for him this season to see the dynamic, the connection, especially between him and Lenoris. And Lenoris gave an answer about it that, is probably as best as you can give in that situation. And just trying to keep it, I guess, as non-emotional as possible. But it's sad. I mean, 2 brothers that could have been out there doing their thing. That also is just another layer of this that really makes it unfortunate, Jack.
It definitely is unfortunate, especially when you look at it from that aspect of the question even came up yesterday to Lenoris. I don't think it was exactly like this, but it was kind of about the draft and stuff coming up next year. And this could be the last time that those 2 guys ever, throw the football to each other and whatnot. It's true. This could be it for Lenoris after this season. And then him and Jaden never get a chance to play together again. But you know what? The way he kind of looks at it is they've had their time together already and they're just grateful to have it. And
yeah,
he knows Jaden's going to be fine. But in terms of what this does to the receiver room, I think is an interesting discussion, Kendall, because Sellers is definitely someone that was a real contributor last year. Like I said before, probably would potentially – he was fighting to be the starter at the slot receiver this season, right, with Mazio Bennett. We'll get back to that and him in a second. With Gibson, I don't know what you could necessarily – count on or expect because he hasn't played since 2023. So what would he have looked like? He's a big, tall receiver, 6'5", kind of like a Nick Harbor size in a lot of ways. So maybe you use him in that aspect. But I don't know what you're thinking he's going to be doing just because we don't know. There's so much unknown with what Jaden Gibson would have been just because it's been so long since he's played in a college football game. And this is a discussion that will have to be had next year if he's still with the program next year. So needless to say, Gibson, a little bit of unknown with what his production would have been. Sellers, that's like a guy that you're using as a starter. So who steps in? I think logic would tell you it's probably Mazio Bennett since he's one of the guys battling out there at the slot. Don't sleep on Sequel Patterson, though. Freshman coming in from Indian Land. This kid's really good. He's gotten a lot of buzz. Shane Beamer has talked openly about what he expects out of Sequel this year and definitely anticipates him being a factor this year in the offense. So I think those 2 guys could definitely look to see make an impact this year. DJ Black's another guy that we've heard a lot about in camp. Even Lenoris has name dropped him consistently as a guy that's making an impact. He caught a touchdown pass in the first drive of Saturday's scrimmage from Lenoris. So there's a lot of good things going on there. And then you also have all of the returning guys that are sophomores that were 4-star freshmen coming into last season. I'm talking about Lex Cyrus, Jordan Gidron, Malik Clark. So you have those guys that are coming back that all redshirted last year, didn't really get a chance to make a big impact. Is this the year we see them make an impact? Because South Carolina is going to have Harbor and Nitro Tuggle. Those are going to be two guys that you know are going to be the serious contributors in this offense. Then it's figuring out who are your third, fourth, and fifth best options. Because you definitely need, by the end of a game on the stat, when you see the stat sheet, there's usually like 5 to 6, maybe even more guys that catch passes. And honestly, one thing we haven't even really talked about is like, how does the tight end situation factor in all of this? So needless to say, it's not ideal to lose two guys at one position in one weekend. The Gibson injury happened in practice last week, and then Sellers happened at the scrimmage on Saturday, from what we were told. But I think the receiver position's like that one spot where you feel like, okay, injuries happened, but you're well equipped with so much depth to where you can take the hit and then move forward, and hopefully no one else gets hurt.
Well, that separates, good teams from great teams. We've had this conversation so many times about other teams in the SEC. It's like, you are going to experience this. This is just the nature of the sport of football. And as much as it is sad and it's unfortunate, you don't want to see it happen, it happens. So the best teams are going to have the guys that are able to step up, and you are going to have a lot of depth. So yes, it's good to hear those names that you are throwing out, Jack. Some of them we've seen a little bit more of and maybe have a clearer idea of what they could bring to the table. Some of them we're not 100% sure, but you always have a couple guys every year. And this is what I really do love, is seeing those guys that kind of step out, have their breakout season, have their moment. Who do you think from the wide receiver room will have their breakout season this year, Jack, especially now that maybe more of an opportunity has presented itself with some injuries?
Well, I think Nick Harbor's an obvious answer because he's had really good success. Last year, he was very good. This year feels like it's going to potentially be his coming out year in terms of there's a potential 1,000-yard season in the cards for him this year. I would say it's definitely possible. Oh, yeah, forgot Donovan Murph, another guy in this receiver room that has been with the program now for a year and a guy that could definitely step in and do some good things in this offense. So that's another guy. There's so many receivers in this room to where, sure, you took 2 big losses, but you got guys that can come in and play. So in terms of the receivers, I see we have a few questions about running backs. We're going to get
we will get there.
We're taking this one position at a time, one topic at a time. I think with the receivers, if I'm pinpointing like one, maybe like underrated guy that I think is going to have a big season, I think it's Mazio. I really do, especially with what happened last year, where he was coming off the great freshman season, and then he just kind of got lost in the shuffle. Again, that goes back to like how many receivers they had last year. With all the freshmen that came in, kind of got lost in the shuffle, didn't get a ton of targets, played, but didn't get much action in this offense. I think he's a guy with so much to prove this year with that kind of like mentality that he's going to be a factor one way or another in this offense. And I think he's going to get back to the type of production we saw from 2024.
Well, you took the words right out of my mouth. I feel like he does have something to prove this season. And hopefully he goes out there and he plays like it. And he'll most likely now see more opportunity as a result of the injury, specifically to Jaden Sellers. Jack, we will talk about running backs here in just a second. But before we do, some more sponsors that make our show possible.
Yeah, let's get into 2 more sponsors here. First off, Ferry Chevrolet. If you're a South Carolina fan, of course you are. If you're listening to the show, odds are you're probably a South Carolina fan who may be interested in a new or used vehicle. If you are, that sounds right. Make sure you check out our friends over at Ferry Chevrolet, located in Orangeburg. They're led by a 4th-generation dealer in Joseph Ferry. The family-owned business at Ferry has been serving the community for 100 years now, since 1926. It's conveniently located just off of I-26 between Columbia as well as Charleston. The folks over at Ferry Chevrolet are local, trustworthy, and always transparent. The business began in St. Matthews and was built on honesty, integrity, and a handshake, and they still operate with those same principles to this very day. Head on over to ferrychevrolet.com today to get in touch and to check out their inventory. One more coming up here if I can get this off the board. I know we have so many of these little buttons that you can click here.
Yes, there's a lot that actually goes on behind the scenes. We're producing the show as we talk. Speaking of which, Jack, we have to continue with this because we have so many great sponsors that do make the show possible. And we have Andy Ludicky now to give a big thank you to and a big shout out to. He is from My Perfect Franchise. Andy's been a supporter of Gamecock Central for quite some time now. So if you're sick of your job, maybe you're ready to leave the corporate rat race, do you want to diversify, build your wealth, and leave a legacy for your family? Or maybe you just want a side hustle. Like a side hustle is always great. I have a couple of those. Well, Andy, he can help. He's a franchise consultant as well as a franchise owner. So he knows like how this goes. And he helps people to find franchises that fit their skill sets, passions, and financial requirements. Now, the best part of it all is his services are 100% free. And he's here to help if you have any questions about business ownership. So you can head over to myperfectfranchise.net to learn more, or you can call or text Andy today at 404-973-9901. Again, that's 404-973-9901. Shoot him an email, Andy at myperfectfranchise.net. Andy Ludicky, great friend of the show. And owning a franchise sounds pretty fun, Jack. I ask this question every so often, but what kind of franchise would you want to own?
I love to own the Yankees and get things right.
Okay. No. What? I'm talking like fast food chain vibes.
Yeah, I know. That's wishful thinking. Honestly, this is a good transition here. How about our good friends over at Rytech Electric? I mean, that would be pretty cool. Let me tell you a little bit about them before we get back into everything going on here with Gamecock football. So Rytech Electric is locally owned, based in Lexington, and has been serving the Columbia and Midlands area since 2007. With Rytech, whether it's a last-minute repair before moving or a full wiring package on your latest build, Rytech Electric partners with the top Carolina production home builders and keeps everyday homeowners powered as well. A flickering light or a dead outlet can derail your morning routine. But fear not, their same-day service and one-year warranty mean that you'll never hunt for extension cords ever again. From turnkey new construction wiring to fast-friendly service calls, Rytech has you covered every step of the way. Every electrician is a Rytech employee, not a subcontractor. They tell you the price before any work starts. That way there's no surprises. And they handle repairs, outlets, breakers, panel work, ceiling fans, lighting, the works. You name it, they can do it. A real person will pick up when you call at 1-803-303-8274. Tell them Gamecock Central sent you. So thank you to all of our sponsors. And now, Kendall, I'll ask you, what kind of franchise would you own since you asked me the question?
It's hard to say. It depends on my mood. But I love ice cream, and I'm really mad and salty that Carvel does not really exist that much anymore. I saw one actually up in New York recently, but I was like the biggest Carvel fan growing up. I had a birthday party at Carvel when I was like 4 years old, and I love Carvel. So I would want to own a Carvel so I could go in and have ice cream. And the best part is their ice cream cake. I'm a huge ice cream cake fan. So yeah, Carvel is my choice. But I mean, I would really own any like ice cream franchise because I'm just like the biggest ice cream lover.
I remember when I was a kid living in New York, I don't think it was every year, but it was almost every year for my birthday. I would get a Carvel. My parents would get a Carvel cake for my birthday, and it would be like this watermelon shaped cake. It was like a watermelon flavored. It was amazing. Carvel is so good. I love it. I wish it was here more. I think they have it in like stores though, like the cake.
They do, yeah. They
like
have
the
it,
ice cream cake, but like
it's like
not
not the same as
but
like
like like there's storefronts in up north that sell it and whatnot. So yeah,
I recently saw one up in New York in East Hampton, and I'm like,
so good.
I need this right now. Like, bring it back, because they had one in Charlotte that I just loved. But anyways, back to what we were talking about, Gamecock football. Let's talk about the scrimmage on Saturday, and then we'll get into talking a little bit more about specific position groups. So Shane Beamer said that he was happy with the scrimmage, and of course he's going to say that. Like, it would just be such a bad thing if he came in and said that he didn't feel good about it. Now the question is, like, what is he happier with? Because it's a give and take in these scrimmages, right? If you're happy with the offense, then everyone's like, well, the defense must have been horrible. But if you're happy with the defense, then everyone starts to freak out about the offense. So I think Shane Beamer gave the perfect answer, the best answer he could give. He said that he was pleased with both sides of the ball, but the offense had a really fast start and the defense had a strong finish. South Carolina ran close to 90 plays with just 8 penalties, 1 turnover, and it was a major improvement from last year's scrimmage, which had 21 to 22 penalties. We talked about this last week, Jack, because I told you those pre-snap penalties from last season still give me nightmares. Just 8 penalties. Pretty good. What did you make of what Shane had to say? He said there's still obviously a lot of position battles. Very few starting jobs are completely settled. So there's another scrimmage coming up this week, and that will ultimately decide more. But your thoughts on Shane's comments about the scrimmage?
Yeah, the penalties is a good thing. I can't even wrap my mind around the fact of having 20, almost like over 20 penalties in a scrimmage last year.
I can wrap my mind around it because I feel like we saw basically everything you could possibly see.
But did they ever have that many penalties?
No. But like, it was just like there was always something. It was constant.
And it's a lot of this pre-snap nonsense that always happens. That's so avoidable, like false starts and offsides. It's like stuff like that should be so avoidable. You cut down on that, you'll have days like Saturday where it really just comes down to how many pass interference penalties are you going to have? How many other non-pre-snap penalties will you have in a football game? And odds are, as long as you play pretty clean football, you shouldn't have a ton. So it really just comes down to how all these pre-snap things that they were doing wrong last year. So that's a good thing there. There's a lot of position battles going on. We talked about the wide receiver room. That's one. You look at the running back room. We're going to get more into the running backs here in a little bit after we talk about the scrimmage. So more on that, because I know we have a few questions about that. One position I did want to talk about real quick, Kendall, is it may not be – it is important because it really can dictate like the difference in a football game. It's the kicking battle, right? And I asked Shane about it yesterday. How are things going from that end? And the way I kind of phrased the question, Kendall, was – and I have it written down because I don't usually write down my questions before media availability or whatever. I kind of just go with what I've got. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I have it phrased right away because it's something I don't want to forget it. And the way I kind of phrased it was, is it a case where guys are making their kicks and it's a tight-knit battle because of that? Or is it a situation where there hasn't been anyone that's been able to separate themselves from the pack yet? And it was kind of more the latter of it's an open competition. Guys are doing well. He's got no concerns about the kicking room from that standpoint, which I guess is good to hear. But he even pointed out nobody separated themselves yet. He wants someone to step up and, quote, slam the door.
Yes, slam the door.
Slam the door on this competition. Get it done with. He made it clear, like, it's time for someone to really take a hold of this thing. So you got another scrimmage coming up on Saturday. That's a big one I would say it's a big deal for figuring out the positions of who's going to start where. Kicker's definitely a big one. And I think kicker's a little bit more black and white compared to other positions. Like, you're either making your kicks or you're not. So it's really going to come down to who's making the most kicks, who's the most accurate guy. And if all of them are doing really well, that's a good problem to have. Then you just pick who you think is the best from that group. So this will be another thing we talk about next week.
He was saying that all of them are like consistently making their kicks. Is that what you were saying? Like, it's just, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how.
I don't know. He didn't like specify like what it was, but the way he kind of put it was like nobody's separated themselves yet. So take that for what you will. When we're back on here next Wednesday, we'll have more to talk about with this because by the time we talk again, Kendall, Shane Beamer will have spoken to the media. They'll have had their second scrimmage in the books for a few days. And hopefully by then, maybe there'll be an answer as to who the starting kicker is. But it is interesting that they really have not figured it out yet. And it's not a surprise because the last 2 years, it's gone down to the wire and it's taken up until game week in some cases to name the starting kicker. So it'll be interesting to see who they go with, but I'm curious to hear more about that competition for sure. Because it's an underrated one that really can make the difference between say 2 years ago, 9 wins and 10 wins.
Yes, it can. And we will definitely keep you all updated on that. I'm curious about it just as much as you all are, because I feel like it's underrated, Jack, but as you mentioned, like, this is a position where you have to be like mentally super tough. Like, there are going to be so many scenarios throughout a season where you got to go out and like, they're going to try to ice you. You're going to be in a game winning situation. Like, you have a lot to carry at that point. So it's not just about, can you make the kick in practice, but are you able to live up to the moment when the spotlight is shining its brightest on you and you can make or break a game? So I'm interested to see how all that turns out. Something else we've talked about a lot during the offseason is just like the leadership skills of Lenoris Sellers. Shane talked about that too, saying that he's already seeing him be more vocal this year. He's not like that young quarterback anymore surrounded by veterans. He is the veteran. And then we had a conversation about this last week. I'm glad we got a little bit more clarity on it. It's the tempo of South Carolina's offense. We were talking about the tempo and some of the players were saying, yeah, it's quicker. We were wondering if it would be kind of Tennessee-like. The way that Shane Beamer described it is he said the offense gives South Carolina more flexibility with tempo under Kendall Briles. He said the offense can play extremely fast, but also slow down, huddle, change tempos. He likes the ability to attack defenses in different ways rather than simply going full speed every single snap. So we're going to see some variation, it seems like, throughout the season on how quickly this offense is going. And then the other main question that we've been asking about this offense, we've had a lot of main questions, but one of the main questions has been about the offensive line. He said that they looked good in the scrimmage, that the protection was solid, and he also praised the group's mentality and competitiveness. So he said Lenoris is able to get the ball around to more playmakers. I know that's a lot on the offense, but little bit there on the offensive line. He didn't give a ton on it.
So we had a report on our site the other day from it was Chris, Wes, JC, one of those guys talking about, and maybe honestly most of them did it, but I read one of them the other day where it just said from the intel they gathered that Sellers had more time to make plays and to get the ball spread around. So that's what you want to hear. You want to hear the offense. We don't know what the sack numbers were looking like in that scrimmage, and how many pre-snap penalties the O-line had or whatever. But the good news is the protection was seemingly good. So that's really all you can ask for at this point. And you're going up against the defensive line that's pretty good, all things considered. Got a lot of veteran guys in that room. I think it's going to be a good group this season. So it's not like you're going up against scrubs by any means. You're going up against a good D-line. And, yeah, to hold your own and to give Sellers time in the pocket, that's all you can ask for. There's certain things that have to go right for South Carolina this season to have a capable offense. Blocking well up front and giving Lenoris time to do his thing is probably like priority number one, I would say.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt about that. So I am glad that he was able to say that. Yeah, most of the report from him generally positive, which again, we've talked about, like, you're not going to get him to come up and say bad things. But let's go ahead and turn the page and let's talk about something we've been mentioning all show that we are going to talk about, and that is the running back situation for South Carolina. Question marks there. We've talked a lot about receivers, but let's talk about the running backs. Christian Clark receiving high praise, and he's a guy whose name certainly stood out to Shane Beamer the other day. He said he's steady, consistent, and mature. while praising Clark's pass protection and his receiving ability as well. He did emphasize, though, Beamer mentioned that the entire room remains obviously competitive, but Christian Clark maybe going to be RB1 this year, Jack.
Potentially. We'll see. I think I still lean towards Matt Fuller right now. Coleman Johnson, I don't know who Duke is. Am I missing something? Does he split time with Duke until someone takes the reins? Does Matt Fuller have like a nickname or something that I don't know of? I don't know. But anyway, I'm assuming he's talking about Matt Fuller here. I think Matt probably. We'll see. I mean, ask me right now. It's either. I think it's either going to be Fuller or Clark. I feel like those are the two guys we've heard about the most. Those guys had a good scrimmage on Saturday, from what we're told. Isaiah Gustave, Joe Warren Howell also had their moments and looked good. So it's a good situation that South Carolina's running back room looks to be in pretty good shape heading into the season. But if you ask me right now, I think Fuller's RB1 and then Clark RB2. But I think they're going to be splitting the reps a lot. Kind of like what we saw 2 years ago with Rocket and Attaway. Maybe that's not the best example, but I think heading into the year, it may be a little bit of running back by committee. Those two guys get an even number of carries, and then maybe like by week 3, you kind of figure out, okay, who's performing, who's not, who takes over RB1, and then you go from there. And Shane also mentioned this yesterday. This goes for literally any position. Roles are going to change constantly throughout the season. So just because you're a starter in week 1 does not mean you're going to be starting, every game the rest of the year. Things can change. You can perform poorly and struggle, and then your role changes. So we'll see where things go. The running back room is a spot that I see a lot of guys getting, run out there, and we'll see what they do. But I think to start the year, I still lean Fuller RB1 and then RB2 Christian Clark, but I think those are your two top guys for sure this season.
Good though, when you can have guys kind of like fighting against each other.
It's a good problem to have.
Like, you want to have that competition. You want to be able to have them, again, fighting for it. Like, who wants it a little bit more? And you might have games where one is a little bit better than the other and vice versa, depending on the day, the game, the opponent. So again, the depth, what separates a good team from a great team. Okay, let's talk the defense a little bit.
Hold on one second. So let's just talk about this real quick, because just want to talk about this. So Big Rooster comment, Fuller has an injury, his left hand is in a wrap, and he couldn't participate in practice. Right on the first part, wrong on the second part. So Fuller, I was out there on Sunday. He was in like the blue, I think it's like the non-contact jersey. But he was in pads. He was in full uniform like the rest of the team. Helmet, jersey, shoulder pads, shorts. He did have a wrap around his left hand, but again, it was nothing that prevented him from practicing. So that part is not true there. But yeah, his left hand being wrapped, yeah, that is true. So we'll see what that means for him. Heading into
but if they're letting him out there to practice,
it's probably not
anything
the biggest deal.
Massive or major, because they wouldn't let him even be out there, even if he's in a non-contact jersey. Like, they wouldn't let him be out there if it was something that major. And I'm sure it would have been mentioned as well in the injuries that Shane was already talking about if it was going to be something long-term or that was really consequential for this team. So as of right now, based on all we know, we're expecting him to be ready to go come the first game of the year. And that's the plan until we obviously hear otherwise. But Jack, let's talk about the defense a little bit. So we don't talk about them as much. And it's honestly because it's more so of a compliment. Like, there's less question marks around this defense for South Carolina. We've seen throughout the years just pretty much consistency from them. Being under Clayton White and just the job he's done has been spectacular. So what did Shane have to say? I know he mentioned there was a strong finish to the scrimmage for the defense, but what else did he have to say about them or anyone that stood out specifically?
Yeah, and the players kind of mentioned this too, is that, they're so focused on finishing out these scrimmages, finishing out games strong, because we know how much of a fourth quarter problem this team had last year. And I don't even think it was all on the defense necessarily. part of it, I think, was on just the offense not being able to finish down the stretch. Because make no mistake, I think the defense gave you a lot of chances to win football games. Just couldn't finish down the stretch. So the interesting part to hear was, and again, you're right, Kendall, a lot of the talk was about just the offense and everything else going on and all the position battles, not so much about the defense. One interesting note that I do recall the players saying was that they got off to a little bit of a slow start in the scrimmage. And it makes sense when you know that DJ Black, caught a touchdown pass on the first drive of the scrimmage. So I think that is something that is worth keeping an eye on. I wouldn't really worry about it right now, but yeah, heading into the season, if it becomes something of note, it'll be talked about more. But the thing is, start off strong, finish out well, but you also want to be playing a good game for 60 minutes.
What would you rather have? Would you rather have Shane come back and say that the defense was crushing it, or would you rather have him come back and say that the offense was at the top of its game?
The offense, 9 times out of 10. You take the offense doing its thing, because that's the bigger question mark heading into the season. You know what you're getting out of the defense at this point. It's been the case like this for 5 years now with Clayton White. Like, there's only 1 month where I'm just like, what's going on with this defense? It was October in 23 where they couldn't force a single turnover the entire month. And they lost all the games they played that month in October. So they've been really good defensively over the years. I have no doubt they're going to be fine again this season. It's just, what are you getting out of the offense this year is the big question. And you need to score points to win games. And defense cannot have pick sixes every single game. So you're going to have to get more out of Lenoris, the running backs, receivers, etc. So hearing that the offense is doing well, I think that's good.
You bring up pick six, and it just reminds me of something funny. For anyone that's been watching Gamecock Central for a while, like maybe since the start of my time here, which was back in 2021. Yeah, 2021. So 5 years. This is like my 5-year anniversary at GC. I had this little segment, and I did this segment on 107.5 too, where I talk about my roommate, and her name is Emily, and she's still one of my best friends. She's the best. And she does not like sports, like doesn't watch them. I mean, she would go to games for like the vibes and stuff, but doesn't watch them. So I recently went on a trip with her, and we love to do sports trivia. And I asked her what a pick six was. And she was like, is it your top 6 players on the field? And it's on my TikTok. I'm not even trying to shamelessly plug my TikTok. It's just like, she would say the funniest things. Back in college, she went a little viral, and I talked about her on the radio station for a number of reasons. But one of them was, we were in our kitchen, and I had football on, and it was a commercial break. And she starts screaming. She's like, oh my gosh, Kendall, there's a baby on the field. Like, you need to come over here right now. There's a baby on the field. And I like run over. I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, it's the Aflac commercial. It was that, the one I'm talking about. Like, they're not even like real teams.
Oh my God.
So anyway, she is the best. I love her. Her name is Emily, but we could not be more opposite in like our love for sports. And when you said pick six, it just made me laugh. And it reminded me of her because I've told stories about her numerous times. I haven't in a while, but I've told a lot of stories about her on Gamecock Central. And we were recently doing some sports trivia. We were doing some baseball stuff, and she does not like the outfield positions in baseball. She cannot remember left, center, and right.
Wow. Hold your fingers up like this and try to figure out where's center's in the middle right here.
Not that she doesn't know, like.
But she doesn't like that.
She thinks they're all like, which is true, but she's like, they're all in the outfield. It should be like midfield, like for the center fielder.
Yeah. Nah, when you hear midfield, you think of like lacrosse.
Soccer, yeah. But she's so funny. So anyways, Emily is still the best, and she was a reoccurring segment on 107.5.
Oh man.
Which you can listen to Jack on 107.5. Tell him when, Jack.
Yeah, I'm on 9 to 11 every morning, and you can hear me and Tyler Head go at it, talking about sports, and obviously a lot of Gamecocks going on right now. So yeah, we're on there every single morning.
I miss it there. I'm gonna pop in one day and just show up.
You should just call in during the show. We'll get you on for a segment, whatever. So that'll be funny.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, Jack, what else? We heard from players. We heard from Shane. Anything else stand out to you in terms of the availability?
Second scrimmage coming up on Saturday. Kendall, you've sparked an idea. The pick 6 thing. Why don't we pick 6 players that we're interested in hearing or seeing what they're going to do? Which players are you looking forward to?
Do we each want to do like 3?
We'll do three apiece, 3 each.
Okay.
So we'll have 6 in total. Kendall and Jack's 6 players that we're watching for and looking forward to hearing about after and during the scrimmage.
Okay, I'm going to start with Mazio Bennett because if he's going to step up, even more so, especially now that Jaden Sellers is not going to be available this season for South Carolina. I'm curious to see how he's utilized, how much he's playing. I don't know how much exactly we'll get on all of that from Shane, but he's making my list. What about you, Jack?
I'm going to go with a kicker. I'm going to go Max Kelly. I'm interested in hearing if he can be the guy to take the reins. He's the only returner in that kicking room, in that battle. The other 2 guys are transfers from other schools. I don't know. I mean, we really don't know who's ahead in this battle right now, since Shane was saying the other day that all 3 guys are, doing really well and whatnot. I'm interested to hear what Max Kelly does in this scrimmage and if he could be the guy to take the reins here. So who's your next player?
So I like that pick because obviously Shane is looking for a kicker to slam the door shut, as he would say. My next guy, and I think, it's obvious, but we're going to have to put him in the top 6, so I'll just take him right now. Just continuing to hear more about Lenoris, how he's adjusting to the offense, how things are going for South Carolina in that regard. He's going to be the name we're hearing the most about all season long. He is now the leader of the team. He was last year as well. But now there's probably, there was a ton of pressure last season, but even more so pressure this year because you've got to right the wrongs of last year. And a lot of that is on him, unfortunately. So I'm ready to hear about Lenoris and also how he's adjusting. There's so much question with this wide receiver room and who's going to step up. So what is the comfortability level for Lenoris with a lot of these different guys? And I'm interested to hear that from him as we continue to progress here through these scrimmages.
I'm going to go with Darius Gray. That's another interesting one is there any chance he is going to be a starter week 1? He's been really impressive by all accounts. He's playing on the offensive line. I really do wonder, especially if Peak's not healthy for week 1, is there any chance he ends up starting? I feel like if there's any freshman that could potentially play this year, I feel like it's got to be him. He's really seemingly having a good camp. Beamer's been impressed with him. He got here in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't even go through the spring. So this is a really big scrimmage for him on Saturday, the second one that is, to see what more he can do to potentially earn a spot. And I think maybe it becomes a little bit more likely if Peak is not ready to go for the start of the season.
I'm going to go with Vicari Swain. Last year, he obviously had some big moments for the South Carolina team. Still one of these guys that we know can make a big impact, and he's actually someone that Shane talked about as well, just in terms of him and Judge Collier and what he expects from those 2 at the corner position. So I'm curious about that just because he's coming off of a season where he did a lot. So how is he going to hopefully continue to build up from that and be a guy that this team continues to lead on as he starts to take on more of a leadership role as well? I was very impressed with him in a lot of ways last year. So Vicari Swain, I'm excited to see what happens.
And then last but not least, you can go with a lot of different players. But I think in terms of guys that are in position battles, trying to edge it out, you said Mazio before. I'm going to go with Sequel Patterson. We've heard a lot of good things about him. The freshman from Indian Land, right here in South Carolina. I think that's a guy that put together another good scrimmage on Saturday. This could be a guy we're talking about maybe being an impact guy right away this season. I think he's going to see a lot of snaps for South Carolina this year, regardless of how Saturday goes. I think he is someone to keep an eye on for sure. There's a lot of players you could talk about. Michael Lynn commenting here. David Busey. He's another guy that's in a position battle trying to lock down one of the starting safety spots. You've also got from Craig here, move Shed to left tackle. Gray plays right tackle. I think that makes a lot of sense. Shed Surratt's another guy that's trying to lock down a starting spot on the offensive line as well. You got the center battle that's going on. There's so many different competitions that are going on that Saturday with the next scrimmage coming up is going to be really one that I think people are going to, it's not open to the public, but people are going to be really looking forward, I think, to hearing what comes out of that scrimmage and who emerges as the starters. Because I think that's really where you start to see the final separation, because after that, it's just practice and getting ready for game week.
Yeah, it's an exciting time, as mentioned, and lots of competition happening right now within this program, which is exactly what Shane Beamer wants. But at one point or another, someone's got to step up. They've got to slam the door shut. Jack, the scrimmage is on Saturday, but when do you get to talk to Shane Beamer and get these answers?
Yeah, so scrimmage Saturday, 3:05 p.m., not open to the public. Our guys on Central will have intel to come out of that. Chris, Wes, JC, those guys, Jamie, they'll have all the intel for you on Gamecock Central. And then Shane Beamer will speak to us next Tuesday at 1 o'clock. We'll hear from players right before as well. And then on Wednesday, we get to talk to coordinators for the first time this season. So we'll hear from Kendall Briles, Clayton White. I would also assume Matthew Smiley, special teams coordinator. So lots to talk about next week. And it just means, Kendall, we're going to have so much more to talk about next week when we are back on here, because we're on here every Wednesday moving forward. Now the football season is off and rolling.
I love it. I love that we are getting into the time where games are about to start, and we will have so much more to discuss. I feel like we're getting to the point where we're getting a lot to discuss here. I was, when it first started, well, I wasn't on the GC Takeover Hour, but I was on the show before with Tyler, and I did that my senior year of college, and it was really fun. So I enjoyed that. And
awesome.
now look at Jack getting to have his show every day from 9 to 11.
It is fun. It is fun.
It is a good time. And he does a great job. So make sure you listen. Make sure you follow us on social media at Gamecock Central. Subscribe to our website, GamecockCentral.com. We are just like rolling out the content right now because it's a busy time of the year. So Jack, anything else before we go?
Yeah, real quick before we get out of here, we do have one more thing to talk about.
Oh, we have a book.
Yes, we have a book to talk about. Now, we didn't write this, so maybe someday we can collab and we'll write a cool book or something. But all our experiences on GC Live, maybe. But our good friend and colleague Kevin Miller has a book that is now out, along with Brent Sylvia. They have the new book called The Spurrier Effect: How One Coach Transformed Gamecock Football. And of course, that coach would be former South Carolina head coach Steve Spurrier, who took over South Carolina's underachieving football program back in 2005, and he changed Gamecock football forever as we know it. Relive the most successful era in Gamecock football history through vivid storytelling by Kevin Miller alongside Brent Sylvia, featuring historic seasons, victories over rival schools, and the development of future NFL stars like Jadeveon Clowney, Alshon Jeffrey, and Stephon Gilmore. There are exclusive interviews with players, even the head ball coach himself, Steve Spurrier. So get The Spurrier Effect today at uscpress.com.
That is so awesome. Congratulations to Kevin on that. I look forward to reading it on my Kindle. That's how I read all my books. But I do enjoy like the turning of the pages. But something about the Kindle is just so convenient. So make sure you read it because he's put a ton of work into it. And yeah, there have been amazing reviews about it. So give it a read. The Spurrier Effect. Have fun cutting your grass. I see we're all going to do separate things, going our separate ways here at the end of the show. But yeah, y'all have a wonderful rest of your week. We always enjoy this time with each and every one of you. So thank you so much for joining us here on GC Live on Gamecock Central. For Jack Veltri, I'm Kendall Smith. We'll see you all soon. Have a great week, and thanks for joining us. Bye.